Hey guys, what's going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Clash Royale with Woody. He's back for the third time talking about what's hot in the game and what's not and what might be on the rise. We're adding a new segment to this conversation. Last time I had Woody on, I asked you guys, do you want to see Woody once every other week or once a month? And overwhelmingly, you guys love this series, this what's hot and what's not. So I'm going to bring him back every other week for you guys. And without further ado, let's go ahead and welcome in Woody. Oh, one last side note, guys. In the background throughout this entire conversation, I am going to go ahead and play a recent 1K tournament where we're going to follow the top players. So if you actually want to see literally what is winning now in a big 1K tournament, go ahead and enjoy the gameplay in the background as well. So guys, here is Woody. Alright guys, I am excited to have Woody back on the channel for really the fourth time now, because you've been with me for 2 card popularity snapshots and also a Pro vs. Pro. So Woody, thanks so much for coming back, man.
Ash, it's an absolute pleasure. I always love coming onto your channel, and I'm happy to be invited back again. Look forward to talking about cards that are in the meta and what we can see in the future of competitive Clash Royale.
Yeah, today we're going to add another new segment. Last time we did like the quick nerf buff card segment. Now this time we're going to talk about like some archetypes and some specific decks, and you're going to tell us if they're going to make a comeback or if they're going to die, or if they already are dead, will they be revived, you know, whatever. So that should be fun. But first, why don't we talk about the actual snapshot. So the cards look to be, you know, no huge, ups or downs as far as individual card popularity. At the top, the usual suspects: Zap, Mega Minion, Fireball, Ice Golem, Archers. And at the bottom, you know, the regular slew of unpopular cards: the Wiz, the Witch, the Valkyrie, the Tornado, and Sparky. What are your overall thoughts on this snapshot? What is there to glean from it?
I think the biggest change and the biggest news story out of this recent balance update is that Elite Barbarians got what they needed to get back into the metagame. We saw 0 uses of the big beefy dudes in the last snapshot, but they have shot up. 33 used now. They are in the top 8 cards in the game, and they are in at least 1/3 of the decks that we found on the top of the ladder. They may have been in even more by the time that this video goes live.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that number didn't catapult to definitely over 50% even by the time that this is actually released. So tell us what your thoughts are on Elite Barbarians. I have my own, but I want to hear yours first. Specifically, do you like that they're this powerful?
I really do like that they're this powerful. There's almost no other card like it. They are a fast card that is expensive. It's a 6-cost card, right? So pretty much every 6, 7, 8, 9 cost card goes really slow and builds up for a big push. The Elite Barbarians, while I thought they still might be a little understated because they lose to a knight in a one-on-one duel, they go really fast, and that fast speed has made them work very well with Hog Rider decks, has made them especially effective in counterattacking after wiping out a Royal Giant push or something like that. So Elite Barbarians are very resistant to spells. It's tough to get a rocket to land on them since they're so fast. Fireball doesn't do the job either. They do a lot of damage. They can one-shot archers now, and they're so tanky that even if something starts shooting at them, they can usually reach whatever they're going toward and hack it apart. That hit speed increase, the increase in their hit points, and the increase in the damage dealt, each of those was integral in making them really popular.
Yeah, you know what? You took every thought out of my mouth, Woody. And but honestly, I'm with you. I think they're on the verge of being OP, but at the same time, I'm totally cool with it because I think, just like you said, they're so unique, they're so refreshing, and, you can play them in all sorts of different decks, too. They have a wide utility, and that's really cool. I love the Elite Barbarians, and I'm excited. There's just so many options with the Elite Barbarians, and, they can be split, they can be, used to punish on a counter push. There are just so many, or you can use them in the opposite lane. So many uses for them, and they definitely keep your opponent on their toes. You have to react quickly. I love the card. I love the buff. I think it's totally cool. So at the bottom, anything changed there? Any dips in popularity that we should know about?
Not a whole lot of change down here. We did see Royal Giant fall pretty far. Surprisingly, I don't think that there is a whole lot of changes in the metagame besides the Elite Bards. So if that one card increasing in popularity was enough to kill Royal Giant, then I feel bad for the card, but the decrease in use of Royal Giant has also seen a reduction in Inferno Tower usage. Lightning overall has not been doing very well because it doesn't work against Elite Barbarians. And, the beatdowny decks have just been finding other ways of getting damage onto the tower, mostly with Fireball. So we've seen a lot of beatdown and control decks having success. The fall in Royal Giant and Expo Siege type decks has been precipitous, and they're still there, but they're nowhere near as popular as they have been.
Yeah, definitely a good point there. But, I wanted to kind of follow up on something we talked about on our last chat. And we ended the conversation, if you recall, by discussing the Royal Giant and what type of problem he kind of presented in the game. And we both kind of agreed that it was dangerous. It was dangerous territory when you make a common card super powerful, especially a super powerful win condition, because of the danger of over-leveling, especially in Legendary Arena in ladder play. So by that logic, shouldn't we be worried about Elite Barbarians maybe in the future, or are you still okay with it?
That's a great observation. I think that the mitigating factor here is that Elite Barbarians don't target buildings. It was really frustrating to deal with a Royal Giant because it just went beeline for your tower. And even if you could counter it with some sort of structure, it usually destroyed the structure because it is really good against buildings, and then dealt damage to the tower anyways. With the Elite Barbarians, I think that they're very strong, but there are ways to counter it. I'm going to be trying to look into different ways to lure them away from the tower and deal damage to them with mostly flying units and ranged units. Maybe in the future, trying to figure out different ways to counter them. But overall, I think that Elite Barbarians are strong, but not yet too strong.
Yeah, I'm with you too. I mean, it helps that they are a great hard counter to Royal Giant and so difficult to stop on the counter push because people play the Royal Giant at the bridge, at the river so often that it's dangerous because if you're countered by those Elite Barbarians, you're only left with 4 plus whatever change elixir. They're so fast that it leaves you having to react very, very quickly defensively. So I think people are happy with that. And furthermore, like you said, I think part of the hate that RG always got was because of how seemingly mindless of a play he is. You plop him down, you just wait, he just shoots away. And at least Elite Barbarians do, require some combinations and a little bit more thought process into executing their pushes. So I'm with you there as well. What I'd like to do now is get right into that, that we're going to talk about Electro Wizard. Well, actually, there's so many things to talk about, Woody. Why don't we talk first? I know you watched the Crown Duel. What did you like about it? What did you dislike about it? Were you overall pleased with the event? I think you'd make a great, by the way, live commentator, host, or any kind of analyst in the future, by the way. So, Supercell, if you're watching...
Hey, I really appreciate those kind words. I've casted Northern Arena and
Yes.
have been doing some work for CRL, so I'm happy that you have enjoyed that. But yeah, I loved you, man, in the Crown Duel. That was awesome. You and
I wasn't fishing for a compliment. I wasn't. What do you think of the event, man?
Still well-deserved, though.
Thank you.
I had fun watching the arena battles. I was a little worried because they weren't really showcasing competitive Clash Royale as much as they were showcasing ridiculous duels. Mm-hmm. So the fact that we saw some of the best players on stage doing what they do best, playing this awesome game, was really heartening. It was a relatively brief show. It was only a couple of hours long, mm-hmm. and there was some excellent talent there in terms of providing some comic relief in between the matches. We got news about the Electro Wizard provided by you right there on stream for the first in the world to hear about it.
That was really cool.
On stream.
Yeah, that was
and
awesome.
Overall, I think it was an excellent exhibition. I know that there were some issues with the live performance. Some people have been talking about how they can make that better by tailoring it to both a live and an online audience. And I think that my biggest concern as a really competitive player was that the quarterfinal matches were best of one, which provides for some really swingy gameplay. If you make one mistake, you get kicked out despite having beaten out thousands of people to get there in the first place. But overall, the benefits far outweighed the cons. It was a great and generous prize pool, some excellent players. I was very happy that 3 members of Reddit Alpha, we had top-notch Marcel P. and Darth Jar Jar representing us there. They all did well. They didn't get into the semis, but I'm still very happy that they were representing us there. And yeah, I think that the people worked very hard to make it happen, and they did a great job executing a wonderful tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy that you liked it, man. It was a pleasure to be there, and like you said, the gameplay really stood on its own. Really stood, it was awesome. I mean, all the matches seemed to come down to the wire. All the semifinal and final matches went best of three. It was awesome. Like I really enjoyed it. It made it easy to call, especially alongside Rumham. He was easy to cast with. His energy and knowledge definitely is way at the top of the game. But enough about that. Tell us about these decks. I want to talk. I'm just gonna throw out some decks to you, and you can tell me if they're dead or going to die or they're gonna make a comeback in the meta. But I just want to get your thoughts on these decks. Is basically what I'm looking for here. And we're gonna start with your forte, sir. The Expo Mortar Siege deck. We'll talk about Royal Giant in a sec.
I love Siege, and I gotta say, I've been playing a little bit of Expo and Mortar on ladder. Not quite as much Mortar, just because Expo is a little bit more viable right now, in my opinion. But both ways are not working out too well. We saw a small buff for Mortar in the increase in its damage radius, but I don't think that was quite enough to make it competitive at the upper echelons of gameplay. Expo is still working quite well. If you're really good at it and you really enjoy playing it, it's viable, but it's certainly not one of the dominant archetypes right now. I still say if you enjoy Siege, you should play Siege and not worry too much about your ladder placement. Just get better with the one deck that you like, and maybe it gets buffed in the future, or maybe it doesn't. But overall, I'd say Expo Siege is kind of middling to low tier in terms of competitive play.
Yeah, for sure. Are you playing Expo Siege right now, or have you switched off?
I've been cycling in between some different plays. I think that's actually the one that I played last, but I'm also really enjoying control decks and have even been experimenting with graveyard beatdown decks.
Well, let's go right to control decks then, because that's on the list here. Control decks seemingly somewhat on life support, in the last month or two, and now I think they might see a resurgence. What say you?
I think that we're seeing some more of them, not quite as heavy as beatdown is right now in terms of ladder presence, but control really is one of my favorite deck archetypes because it allows you to play defensively. It allows you, if you can play your elixir wisely, to get the upper hand, even if you have lower level cards, which I think is a crucial difference between just kind of throwing out the big bodies and hoping that they deal all the damage that you need. And then kind of going for chip damage here and there to finally wear your opponent down rather than relying upon them making a mistake. You can usually get a lot of reliable damage through cards like Miner, through spell cards like the Fireball, just to ensure that you, if you can survive, will eventually win.
Yeah, I was actually on a really hot streak on ladder, and I was taken down by like a really pure Miner control deck. Well, semi-pure. I had a Rocket as well. But other than that, it was just like so control-y. I felt like it was, 2 months ago, and it was Miner. I don't remember every card, but obviously Inferno Tower. I think they had Bowler, and just like, Ice Spirit guards, like super control-y. They definitely had guards as well, which is actually, I'm interested to see if that makes a little bit of a comeback in your next snapshot, as they're not an awful counter to Elite Barbarians for the Elixir swap that you make. Even though the Elite Barbarians surprisingly can kind of go through them pretty fast, like I was surprised, but I digress. Control is I think it could be making a little bit of a comeback as well. You said beatdown graveyard decks or just beatdown decks in general. What are your thoughts there? You're a big fan, I assume?
I'm a fan insofar as I know that they're very good right now. I don't play them a whole lot.
Yep.
But beatdown decks, especially if they incorporate Elite Barbarians, have been going faster, getting more damage in, utilizing really big tanks still, primarily the Giant, but also a little bit of Lava Hound play. I was talking with one of my friends, Hazard, and he observed that if you have a max level Lava Hound, the pups will survive against Zap, which is really popular right now. And so it becomes very difficult to deal with a big push like that, especially if you incorporate other Zap bait troops into your deck, like Skeleton Army. And if you can throw a Miner in there at the very end, you'll usually get quite a bit of damage in there. But beatdown has been working primarily in favor of the Giant archetype, Giant Bowler beatdown, Giant Graveyard, and even a CG kind of beatdown with Giant Furnace. All three of those decks have been doing fantastic right now.
Do you think there's any card that could help? Like, I think that Lava Hound decks are, or I should say Lava Hound players, some of them, not all, but some of them are kind of struggling because there's so many Elite Barbarian Hog cycle decks out there right now that you can really be punished as soon as you drop that Lava Hound. It can be somewhat difficult to defend. Do you think there's a card that's not usually in a Lava Hound deck that people should consider adding to help defend against the Elite Barbarians or the Hog?
I think that there is, and that card is Tombstone. It got a nerf recently, but it's still quite good at distracting Hog Riders and Elite Barbarians. Pulls them in, deals quite a bit of damage with the skeletons, and usually by the time whatever is attacking you reaches that Tombstone and finally wipes them out, you get a little bit more elixir and can play some minions or a Mega Minion perhaps, specifically for a Lava Hound deck to wipe out whatever attack was coming in on you and then go in for a big counter push.
Yeah, oftentimes with Elite Barbarians specifically, all you need is time. I mean, they move so fast that you need to buy yourself time, and you're right. The Tombstone's a great option to buy that time. Excuse me. How about Trifecta? It's been a long time since we've seen Trifecta in the game. It was a fan favorite for sure, specifically because most Trifecta decks did not include any legendary cards. So Trifecta, I think that Valkyrie might see a little uptick. You know, Valkyrie's not a bad counter to Elite Barbarians, but what about Trifecta in general? Do you think it could make a comeback, or is it doomed to stay in the bottom of the meta, or not even in the meta?
I think that the Hog Rider, Valkyrie, Musketeer traditional Trifecta is kind of doomed right now. The popularity of Mega Minion and Elite Barbarians makes it quite difficult to get the Valkyrie or the Musketeer to do very much work for the Hog Rider. But the Hog Rider decks have been adapting and improving. They've actually swapped out the Valkyrie for the Elite Barbarians. It's like if you can't beat them, might as well join them.
Sure.
And Hog Rider with Elite Barbarians instead of Valkyrie, along with the Musketeer, has been doing very well at the top of the ladder. A Hog Freeze control deck actually was one of the most popular ones that we saw at the very upper echelons of gameplay.
Speaking of Freeze, it does seem that Freeze, especially like lately, like the last few days, to me at least, I'm seeing Freeze a lot more, even in tournament play, which is something that we didn't see a lot of previously because of the time, obviously, getting more and more valuable as you upgrade it beyond tournament standards. So do you think Freeze could actually be viable? With all these fast-moving troops, you can really punish somebody with a well-timed Freeze, especially if you kind of keep it hidden till double elixir time. It can really be the difference in a match. Do you think Freeze could be gaining popularity?
Freeze is a match made in heaven with the Elite Barbarians because they move really quickly, and once they reach the tower, if you freeze whatever defenses are set up, they can often chop through it really quickly.
Yeah.
On the flip side of that, if you play Elite Barbarians defensively and your opponent freezes them, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. The freeze spell works extremely well on ladder because it continues to scale upwards in terms of its duration as you get it to max level, as opposed to tournament rules, which cap it at level 4. It still works quite well, but with troops that deal even more damage and with a free spell that lasts even longer than it does under tournament rules, the max level free spell is deadly on ladder right now.
Yeah, I've seen so many TV Royale matches where, like I just kind of said, and like you said, it's just like they just whip out that freeze for the first time. They catch you so off guard with it, and it's just like towered down, So yeah, I totally concur there. The last deck, do you think that just cycle decks in general, specifically Hog cycle decks, I'm assuming your answer is going to be meta. What is your overall thoughts on just, Hog type cycle decks?
The Hog Rider cycle deck has been doing pretty well recently. It's actually more popular than the Hog Freeze deck that we saw. Cycling with really cheap cards like Ice Spirit, Ice Golem, Zap, and using defensive cards like Cannon and Archers to wipe out any small pushes has been very effective in a metagame that has de-emphasized the use of towers like Inferno Tower and Cannon to defend against quick attacks like the Hog Rider. You can get a lot of value in there whenever your opponent misplays that building, or if you can outcycle them to get to your Hog Rider before they have that building up on defense.
Yeah, for sure. I know you have to stream soon, Woody, so before you do, can I get your thoughts on the Electro Wizard, and specifically what type of decks you think people should be trying out for the Electro Wizard Challenge to try to get those 12 wins and get that Electro Wizard into their collection?
Certainly, man. I think that Electro Wizard is going to be very weak to Fireball. So since everyone else is going to be running an Electro Wizard, I would recommend including a Fireball in your deck, especially if you're able to hit that tower or any other troops alongside him. That's going to be an easy 4-for-4 trade. On top of that, I think that defensive-oriented decks are going to do quite well. Cards like Bowler which don't cost too much, but can allow you to defend very efficiently and then push for a big counter assault will be effective. I think that Miner will also get a lot of value in this, new metagame where everyone is playing Electro Wizard and everyone, has to go up against an Electro Wizard. I think that Fireball Zap is going to be a great spell combo. Bowler is going to be an excellent card here. And then Miner is going to be a nice win condition to get a little bit of chip damage, especially because in the Electro Wizard Challenge, it is playing under tournament rules, as we all know. And so you'll get an additional 2 minutes of overtime to get that damage in. Miner is a pretty reliable way to do that.
Yeah, that's actually great advice there, especially for stopping the Electro Wiz. What about, like, offensively? What type of combos are you looking for a good offensive combination with the Electro Wiz?
Offensive combinations with the Electro Wiz. Well, he's going to be good at shutting down an Inferno Tower. So if you want to try to make perhaps a big giant beatdown deck that incorporates an Electro Wiz on the backside, it might be difficult for your opponent to be able to shut that down. Even if you want to go even harder, you could try to go for a Golem-based deck. Since the Electro Wizard is not going to do very well against the Golem. But if you've got one of your own Electro Wizards behind a Golem, he could be quite effective at wiping out any of the smaller glass cannon kind of defensive troops that your opponent would set up. So I think Golem could potentially work out well. And then in addition, the Miner, I think once more is a fantastic offensive card that you can combo with the Electro Wizard. Yeah. Even if your opponent's tower is shooting at your Electro Wizard, as long as the Wizard himself is also zapping the tower, it's going to reset the tower's targeting. And so you can stick a Miner right on there and keep that Electro Wizard zapping that tower as long as the Miner stays up.
Yeah, that's a good point there. I didn't even think of that one, but that's a solid suggestion there, Woody. Okay, well, Woody, I'm going to let you go, man. I know you have to, like I said, stream. Can you just tell people again, in case they aren't aware already, where they can find you and how they can get in touch with you?
Certainly. Thanks again for inviting me to your channel. It's been fantastic talking with you every time. I really enjoyed meeting you out in LA when we got a chance to do that.
Yeah, man, always the same.
My own channel here is on YouTube. Woody is the name. I think that the actual username for that is WWoody123. It's the same over on Twitch, where I stream gameplay a couple times a week. And I also have a Twitter account that I hope that your viewers will follow. I'm at Woody_CR. And I'm also the leader of Reddit Alpha. We are a global top 50 clan and founding member of Reddit's Royale clan system. I hope you will come check us out if you're looking for a clan. I think that just about wraps it up. Thanks very much for having me on your channel.
Thanks again for coming on, man. And as always, guys, I'll have all those links and the Twitter handle and everything else in the description below. Woody, thanks again, man. Can't wait to do it again.
You're a boss, dude. Looking forward to it.
All right. Take care.
See ya, Ash.
All right, guys, and there you have it. Now, I want your feedback, guys. If you want a specific topic that we didn't talk about, or you have any cool segment ideas for the next best and worst of the meta with Woody, go ahead and let me know. I definitely want your feedback. I will go ahead and read and respond to every comment left in the first hour of uploads. That's a new policy I'm instituting just to make it better to communicate with you guys and easier on me. That way, I can give you guys the opportunity to go ahead and reach out to me and actually get a response. Otherwise, you can follow me on Twitter at Clash_with_Ash, and I try to respond to every tweet that I get when I'm awake. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. I'm kind of stalling right now because this match going on in the background. And if you've been following the replays, you'll see that Ryan didn't even have to play, I don't think, if I recall correctly. And he did enter this match and he just lost that fireball, and that cost him first place in the tournament. But a really cool Lava Hound deck by Ryan there if you want to go ahead and copy it. So guys, thank you so much for watching, and as always, take care, guys.